Welcome to another photo review video. Today I'm going to take quite a few of the images that you guys have sent to the email that's here in the video description, and I'm going to give you just a short critique and maybe something that's going to help you understand a little bit not only photography but also stock photography, and hopefully make some images that sell. I want to thank everyone for sending these images. I know that some of you have been waiting for a couple of months now for a review. Some of these are back from October and that's because I keep getting more and more and I'm a little bit behind, but I'm doing the best I can to get through these photos and get everybody's photos reviewed. Now remember, this is just based on my experience and everything I've learned since I started doing stock photography 13 years ago. So let's start with the first photo here. This beautiful Milky Way with the shooting star, the galaxy over here, that planet, the person. Unfortunately, the photo is a little bit noisy. I don't think it's going to get accepted for stock. Let me look at the camera settings here. It was only ISO 640, so your camera doesn't do that well in dark conditions. The shutter speed was 30 seconds. That's why your stars have a little bit of movement. Usually at 16 millimeter, this is, I believe, a crop sensor. You want to keep it around 7 or 8 seconds. That way you won't have that 6 or 8 seconds. That way you won't have that blur. But I mean, in this case, it's fine. The only thing is the noise, which is, try Lightroom denoise. If you have a raw image, try that denoise and see if you can recover some of that blurriness. Noise doesn't bother me at all personally for photos, but stock photography has to be technically perfect, and unfortunately, in my experience, this has a little bit too much noise. Great image. I'm gonna say total 4 out of 5 because it's a great capture, but for stock, I'm sure it's missing the little bit on the processing side. Next photo is the antique sign. Now the photo has been modified, I believe, and it has this antique look to it, like a sepia look to it. When you zoom in, it looks fine. ISO, what's the settings here? ISO 400, 180th f4. It's not terrible. I like the ISO to be lower to avoid grain in the out of focus areas, but it looks fine. Overall, it's a great image. Leading lines, the composition is great. As far as stock, I don't know because of the filter applied here, the editing. It looks good, but remember, the less you do to a photo, the more an editor can do to it when they need to use it. So keep it simple, and chances are you can sell a little bit more that way, or at least in my experience, that's how it's been. On this photo, I'm gonna say 4 out of 5. It's a great capture, leading lines, great travel photo. Very good composition. It's just that for stock we're missing usage, the sellability, and also that more neutral and more natural look. Next we have a storm. This looks really cool. Great capture here. ISO 100, 200 of a second f4. So you can see how the storm has that grainy look. That is so weird. It's ISO 100 and it's got all that different colors and stuff. That's usually the rain. You see dust particles, the lighting going through, like all the lights and everything changes, which is what gives it that grainy look. Once the photo loads, it goes away. That might have been a little bit on the processing part too, because you can see that the photo's been darkened and it looks good, but I don't have the raw image to see if it was overly done. This side here is blown out. I don't think it's going to get accepted because of that noise, which will make the photo, I mean, it's a great capture, but be careful with with your processing. The vignette might be a little much. I mean, it adds to the drama of the photo. I would say try it anyway, but you can see in the corners the noise that it brought by really trying to enhance it that way. It looks good. I'm gonna say 3 out of 5. Settings are pretty good. I would have gone with f11, something like that, especially with the wide angle, to make sure that everything is sharp, especially around the corners. Focus is good, shutter speed's good. No, it looks good. I would try it anyway for stock, but I believe it's been a little bit over processed. You don't want to overcook your photos. Let's go on to the next one. All right, this is unique. That's like a gravel pit. That's a drone shot, I believe. Yes, DJI. That's a pretty good photo. ISO 140. I know drones have different cameras, different sensors. Everything looks sharp. That's a cool perspective on a gravel pit. I think this photo would do great for stock. Composition, I would bring this less sky and more of the gravel so you can show more of what's happening. There's not much in the sky, and all you gotta do is tilt the camera down on the drone. It looks good. 4 out of 5. Great concept, location. It's a great photo. I don't know how it's gonna do, but it looks like it's got everything that it needs, in my opinion. Even the composition, just a little bit more. 4 out of 5 on this one. Let's go to the next one. Another drone shot. It looks to be from the same one, same drone. ISO 200. So now drones don't have the best noise. It looks a little noisy, but it's fine. Again, the perspective is unique. Drone shots are awesome. Rules are changing in the US, so be very careful when you're flying or when you're uploading for stock, because now you're flying commercially. But in different countries, they all have different rules. So, you know, fly legal, especially if you're selling for stock. The photo looks good. See, now this one doesn't have enough sky. Even though the sky is white and blown out, you don't want to cut too much because then you can't use the photo. But it looks good. 4 out of 5 again. Just, you know, be careful with the composition. All right, here we have another night sky image with the motorcycle, the lights going through. It looks great. It's just very noisy. Try bringing down your ISO. You don't need 800. It might be a little bit in post if you brought up the shadows. Just try using a little bit of noise reduction and something that's going to keep the image looking cleaner. This is just a little bit too much for stock. The image is great. The lines, the lights, capturing the stars and the motorcycle, a little bit of light painting. This takes a lot of practice, and I know it's fun and you're doing great. Just try to bring down that noise as much as possible, whether it's on camera or in post. If you're doing the motorcycle like that with the stars, do a blend. Try blending the images. If you drop the ISO, now you can do a 3-minute exposure of the motorcycle and then add the sky later. So now you're doing 2 photos, one for the main subject and one for the background. So just, you know, try doing something like that, and that'll bring the noise down on your main subject. 4 out of 5 on that motorcycle. It looks great. It's a great capture. Now we have a more artistic side of things to the photos, different lights, the purple, the blue. It looks great. f/22, so everything's in focus. I don't really see any problems with diffraction, so it's a great lens. That's with the Sony ISO 100. The photo looks awesome. Great capture for a car commercial, for anything like that. Unfortunately, for stock, it might be a little bit too much. I mean, try it anyway. It looks great. I've done things like this. I just don't seem to sell them that much because they're very specific to not only the brand. It would have to be an illustrative editorial because you can see the logo in the front. But as far as a car photo, this is beautiful. I'm sure any manufacturer will be fine. I would like to see a little bit more light underneath, but I know you're probably going for the moody, just the silhouette, the outline. Fantastic job on this one. 5 out of 5. For stock, I'm gonna say 3 out of 5, but as a capture, it's beautiful. But yeah, maybe a little bit of light underneath, not bright, just enough so you can see the difference between the ground and the car. I think that would be that would look really cool. I'm curious as to what that would look like. But anyway, next photo. Now we're talking. Now this looks like, is that cotton candy? That's a cool setup. ISO 320, 100 of a second, f2.2. It's focused, it's sharp. That looks like cotton candy with the light underneath. Great idea. If it was a little bit brighter, it would be more of a happier thing. Like this, it looks like clouds. It does have a cool concept. I would say this would totally sell. Upload it. It looks great. If you haven't sold it, I'm curious. Let me know in the comments because the photo looks really cool. I like the dark frame. I like a lot of things about it. The reaching, the hand going in. Great idea for a stock photo. If you have these kind of props, use them because this is awesome. 5 out of 5 in this one. Camera settings, everything looks great. Let me look again. Yeah, camera settings, even at the ISO, you're moving, things are blowing around, so that's a good settings for the speed. So perfect. Now we have some guy on a bicycle in the Alps. Again, great travel photo. This is what people do here. I keep saying, take photos of people doing things. There are some logos, so you might have to erase some of the logos. A lot of the agencies now want a model release, even if it's the back of the person. So try it without, try it as a commercial, and if you can't, sell it as an editorial. ISO 200 at 4,000 of a second. The settings are a little off. You don't need 4,000 of a second in this situation. He's not moving that fast. 2,000 of a second, ISO 100, 500 of a second, f5, f6, ISO 100 would have given you a little bit more detail, but this camera seems to handle it. Fuji X-T10 seems to handle detail and everything, just a little bit of distortion in the corners, not much to worry about. It looks fine. I would definitely upload that to stock. Biking on the Alps, it looks awesome. Good job on this one. Let's say 4 out of 5 because of those camera settings. Next we have, beautiful, perfect. Yeah, absolutely. Objects, products, things, and it's got a little bit of negative space on the side. Great stock photo. Camera settings, ISO 400 f2. Camera settings might be a little off. Remember, for stock they want more depth. In my experience, anything f4 or below doesn't always sell or get accepted. If I do f11 and then blur the background later, like if I do 2 photos like I showed in a different video that I'll link here and at the end, that's what I had to do to get more and more photos accepted and generate more sales. I like that you're going for the blur background. That's what the f2 comes in, but you can see how it takes a little bit away from the flower can thingy here. Again, my experience, when I blend the images and give the product an f11 and the background an f2, those photos tend to sell and get accepted more often. In this case, great job. I like the photo. I like the simplicity. I like the setup, the colors, everything matches. Good job on this one. I'm going to say 5 out of 5. Next, we have a little bird. What is that, a pigeon? It looks good. ISO 400, 1/60th of a second. It looks like it's behind a cage. So you have your lens right out the cage. I don't know. That's kind of what it looks like here. But it looks good. Even at ISO 400, I know I've been a stickler for ISOs to bring it down. You can see a little bit of noise here in the background. It's not bad. A little bit of noise reduction would help. And unfortunately, it looks like it missed the focus. The feathers on the neck are very sharp, but the eye isn't. And you want the eyes to be in focus. That's your connection. 4 out of 5. It's a great shot. I would try uploading it anyway. The composition is good. The colors are good. Everything looks very good. I'm just not sure about the focus. Next, we have a horse. What is that horse doing to the other one? I guess it's, let's hope it's the mama and baby. This is ISO 100, f9, 100th of a second. It looks good. Focus is, I would have liked to seen the focus on the front horse. I don't know where it focused. None of this looks sharp. Let's wait and see if it's just processing here. I don't know where the camera focused. Nothing seems to be in focus. Canon 250D, 55mm. It might, you know, now that I'm looking at it, it might be your lens. It's a kit lens and it's zoomed in all the way at 55mm. And even though it's an f9, it doesn't seem to be in focus. This photo is not going to get accepted because of that lack of focus. It's a great shot, great concept. I would have said 5 out of 5 on this one, but that focus is not gonna get accepted if it doesn't have focus. Oh, that sucks. Close, but not quite. Not for stock. Great capture, just not a stock photo. All right, next we have tomatoes. ISO 100 f8, 1/60th of a second. They look good. The shadow underneath the plate might be a little bit bright. If you add more light or a diffuser to the light, it will be a little bit more even. It looks good. Photos of tomatoes there are a lot of them out there, so I don't know how this would do for stock, but it's a good sharp image. Focus on the water drops. Your light is not diffused, and that's why all the water drops have those highlights. So try diffusing the light, making it a much more even light so the shadows aren't as pronounced and your highlights on the tomatoes are not as bright. Also, look at this tomato here. It's got a little bit of, the water looks dirty, and there's a couple of stains on the plate. So if someone's gonna use an image like this for commercial purposes, you're gonna want that plate clean and the tomatoes looking the best they can, not with that dirt here. I'm gonna say 3 out of 5. It looks good, but it could improve, and a little bit of diffused light, maybe a second light from the back, would make it a lot better. All right, let's go to the next. Simple toothpicks, isolated, almost isolated in a white background. Photo's good. I don't have a camera or lens. It looks like it might have been a phone camera because there's distortion, over sharpened. Yeah, the photo's not gonna get accepted. It's missing clarity, it's missing that detail, and the background needs to be cleaned up a little bit better. It looks like a piece of paper has been wrinkled. More light on the right so that you could fade in and add text, that would be better, but the focus and the lack of detail here on the toothpicks is going to get the photo rejected. Nice try. I'm going to say 3 out of 5, but for stock that's not going to work. Now we have an orange with a hand like this. From my point of view, the photo, it's done great. Isolated on white, a little bit of shadow, that's fine. Photo looks good. Camera settings are, I don't have them. Don't know why, but I don't have them. Unknown camera, unknown lens. It looks good, but for stock, remember this perspective of, see, this is the perspective. I'm showing you the orange. When I'm looking this way, it just looks strange, and something like that is just not gonna do that great for stock in my experience. I've done the same thing where I hold my hand here, the camera here where I am, and try to get the photo. It just looks awkward. Try setting a timer, focusing. Now I have a camera that has a flippy screen so I can look what I'm doing from this perspective, and it helps a lot. A mirror would also help you. Just try to find a different way to get an angle to where you're selling something to the viewer and not like a selfie kind of thing. Great execution on this photo itself. I'm going to say 5 out of 5. The colors, the lighting, the isolation and white is very well done. The only thing is your perspective. 4 out of 5. Next we have a hummingbird. This one is very noisy. This photo is not going to get accepted, and that is 100% the ISO. 2500 is way too much. The bird is not moving, it's on the flower. I understand these things are quick, but while it's on the feeder, you could bring that down to even a shutter speed of 1/100 and bring that ISO back down to something where the photo is going to get accepted. Unfortunately, for stock, this one's not going to do it. Great capture. I love these hummingbirds with the long tail, but for stock, this one's not going to get accepted, and that's because of your camera settings. Now, composition-wise, there's a lot of empty space up top. You could bring the camera down and make it more about the bird. The bird is right in the middle. Use your upper focus points. That would help you a little bit more in the composition. So this one, I'm going to say 3 out of 5 because of the capture, but it's missing quite a bit more, especially if you're going to sell it for stock. All right, let's go on to the next one. This looks like a ocean theme here. I don't know where it's at. Solitary Beach is the title of the image. Good camera settings, ISO 200, 1/50th of a second. It's gonna have a little bit of blur in the water. Horizon looks like it's a little bit tilted. If I go up here, kind of straight. Yeah, it's not terrible, but it's got a little, maybe a 1 degree tilt. It looks good. There's a lot of sky and there's not much happening in the sky, so bring the camera down and frame it with those 2 rocks in the front. I think it would look better. As far as the stock photo, I think it would be fine. It's a travel image. There's ships, there's concepts. It looks like a beautiful area. It's just missing something, an action, a person sitting here looking, or more about the boats. Like, it's good, but it could improve, and I'm just not sure exactly how. There's really not much happening on the beach. The water's calm. It's a good travel photo. I would upload it anyway. It looks like it has what it needs, but maybe bring down the sky so there's not so much sky on the photo, just to make it a more pleasing composition. Something like that, maybe. Almost a square image. 4 out of 5 in this one. It's got pretty much everything it needs except for the composition and maybe a little bit of sellability. But for stock, you never know what's gonna sell. Just upload it anyway. Next, we have some guy walking in with his horse. Now these photos, there's no detail. This is a phone image, I believe, a Pixel, Google Pixel 6. You can see the photo's been over sharpened, over whatever. It's just not gonna do it. A great composition, great technique. I'm not sure about the black and white for stock, but it looks great when you look from far away. When you get close, the image is not gonna get accepted, and that's 100% the phone. If it was sharp, I would say 4 out of 5, but because it's not, it's just not gonna get accepted, so let's keep it at 4 out of 5. The next one, it looks like the horse is eating another person. Same issue, there's no detail on the horse. From far away it looks great, but from up close it doesn't have. And this one, great image. Again, 4 out of 5. Composition could improve because that person's being eaten by the horse, but there's no detail. This is not going to do anything for stock. Next is this train, and I think I did one of your trains. This is Greg. I did one of his trains earlier. This one looks amazing. This one looks better. There's a little bit of motion here, and that's probably the vibration from the train. 2/50th of a second. Again, the trees have a little bit of noise here for 200 ISO. That might be the camera. This is a beautiful capture. I love this scenery here. This one looks way better in the background, even though it has a little bit of noise. I'm like at 500% here. That's why it's noticeable. But the photo looks beautiful. I love these trains. That's an awesome spot. Wow. Beautiful capture, composition, the lines, and it's the steam, the smoke going that way, the train lines going this way. It's great capture, great camera settings. Maybe next time when you're over there, see the motion blur here in the 90. I know the train is vibrating. It's going to take a lot more shutter speed to freeze something like this, and without pumping up the ISO too much, you might want to go down a little bit on the aperture. I think you have f4. Even at f4, if you focus on the front of the train, that would give you like 500 6/40th of a second at ISO 200. I think that would be a little bit better. You won't have the depth perspective, but with the wide angle you should be fine. Just focus on the front, so the letters, the wording, the name of the train is sharp, and the rest could just fade away as it's driving away. But that a little bit of, see that 90 there, it's got a little bit of movement, and I think if that wasn't shaky, it would be a 10 out of 10, even though I'm only counting to 5. So 5 out of 5 on this one. Let's go on to the next photo. All right, this one, upside down, thinking outside of the box. This was a cool perspective. Let me go back to the story. This was done with a very old camera, ISO 400. So there's gonna be some noise. There was no tripod. Canon D60. This is a way to think outside of the box a little bit. You know, like just because the lights are different colors, it looks good. Flipping the camera around just to give you a different perspective. For stock, I don't know how it's gonna do. I would upload it anyway. The noise might get it rejected. I don't have any of the settings because it was a very old camera. But it just makes you think a little bit differently. When you go out and take pictures, try to play around, do things like this. Who knows? You might get a killer shot. This one I like. The perspective is unique. I like the different color lights. As far as an image, I'm gonna say 5 out of 5. It's a great capture, especially flipping it upside down, making you think a little bit of what you're looking at, more artistic. For stock, anybody can find commercial value. The photographer found commercial value. He's like, you know, why flip it upside down? Try that. So, you know, there's always something around. Try uploading it. You never know what's gonna sell. That's the fun thing with stock, is anything goes. Try it, and if you like it, others might too. I like it. So good job on this one. Let's go on to the next photo. All right, the next and last photo, it's an orange, cut in half, split open. It looks good. I can't really tell on this on the iPad, ISO 400. It doesn't look like it's sharp. Huh. Canon R7. This orange here looks sharp. It actually looks pretty good. Maybe it's a 2.8. That, see here in the inside, it looks a little bit blurry. That might be because it's close to the edge of the lens, and the sharpest part is in the middle. So keep that in mind. Your lenses are always going to be sharper in the middle, especially wide open at 2.8. That was a 50mm 1.4. I would try to upload it anyway. I'm just afraid it's not going to get accepted because of the focus. Great job, great capture. Things like this tend to sell. Juicing it, squeezing it, showing what's inside of the fruit. I like it. The lighting is good, the composition is good. It just, unfortunately, technical issues with the focus might not get this photo accepted. I think I'm gonna leave it here, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I'm gonna get through more and more photos. If you send some images, only send one at a time, because I have a lot of people waiting and a lot of photos waiting for review, and I wanna get through all of them. So I hope this was helpful. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.